All right. With that, we are going to transition to the next part of our agenda, which will be lightning talks. We do have three amazing speakers who have joined us today from our different sponsor organizations. So just to brief you on how this will work, each of our speakers will be talking for about 5 minutes. And we will have room for one or two questions based on how we're doing on time. But to keep you all on time, speakers, we do have a little music that we're going to start playing once you hit that 5-minute mark. And that will be a prompt to kind of conclude your thoughts. And then we will transition to Q&A. And without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, Darin Anderson, CEO, Salas O'Brien. Darin will be speaking on how to get the job you want. Take it away, Darin.
Great. Hi, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for including me in this conversation today. I'm really happy to be here, and what a wonderful forum. So I hope anybody at any time doesn't hesitate to ask me questions, whether it's today or any other days after this session. So I'm happy to be participating. We've got a great team that Gavin and Cassie and several of our other engineers will be meeting throughout the day. And they're very talented people. So they'll tell the story of Salas O'Brien and helping you along the lines of how to interview and how to get the position that you're looking for. So today I had a presentation that I was going to share, but I'm just going to, I think, talk more than anything else. So the topic is how to get what you want in a job, how to get the job that you want more than anything else. So I guess I would say first and foremost, I'm a UCR alum, both my undergrad and graduate degree. And I'm so happy to be participating here today and hopefully sharing a few tidbits of information to help you guys get jobs in the future. And obviously, Salas O'Brien is recruiting significantly. We look forward to hiring many UCR grads. We have 1,000 team members in our organization today across North America. We're a big mechanical, electrical, and structural engineering firm. We build our communities, everything from hospitals to data centers to telecom switches to universities. We do a lot of work even at UCR. We work with 150 different universities, from power generation to utility distribution to vertical real estate, and do all the building systems. And so we create healthy environments. We create the environments that we work and play in every day. We also do science and pharma facilities. So we're excited, a passionate group of engineers that are building our communities every day, and we make our world more efficient, as well as we save precious natural resources. So it's a great place to be from a purpose perspective and values. So I'd share first my question to you is that what job are you looking for? And I think everybody, from every time I'm looking into the future for positions, or somebody who is looking for a position, should ask themselves, what do you want in a job? And I really resonated when I heard Crystal sharing further, is that be very selective and careful about what you're looking for. And it is not just about the money. The money is one component of it, but as you're growing in your career, the money today, while I know is important, particularly as you've taken on some student loans and you're trying to make some money, but just don't let it compromise the other things that are important in your decision-making process. So while money is an important consideration, building the skills and working with an organization that you are really enthusiastic about, that seems to align well with your values, that you see a lot of uplift and opportunities for you, that is the type of organization that I would be focusing your time and attention on. So you should be interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. I always share with my team, it's about a relationship together. You want an organization that is going to champion you and is going to lift you up, and is going to create opportunities down the road for you. So if you're going into an organization that you don't feel fits the values of, are they aligned from a mission perspective? Are they doing the work and creating impact into your community? Or are they just selling a product that you don't care about? You need to assess for yourself, no judgment one way or the other. You need to determine what's important to you. Maybe making the most money is is the most important thing. I think as you start to work, you'll realize that that is not the most important. You want to be around people that you enjoy, that you share the same vision and passion for, that you're going to learn from, most importantly, because right now you've built a basic set of skills and you want to have the opportunities to grow unlimited into your career. So find the organization where you feel very good about the people, they're going to share knowledge with you very openly and easily, and that you have many different paths to grow within an organization as well. I would also be very conscious of when you're making a determination that this is your story of your life. You've gone to UCR, it's an outstanding university. Now you're starting your professional career. Make conscious decisions about the organizations that you're associating with. You're building your story of life, because people, when you're interviewing down the road, again, they're going to ask you, why did you choose to go to that organization? What did you learn there? Why are you leaving now? How does that not align with what you are seeking? And so be very clear with the story that you're telling and where you want to go in your life, what direction. You don't necessarily know, you may not have to know where you want to be at the end of the year, but know very much of what's important to you and why you're making those decisions. Companies are making decisions. Why are companies making decisions for you? Is it companies are looking to see who is the best candidate? You need to create a connection with those who are you're interviewing with, so that they realize that you are a good investment to make. And why are they making those decisions? They're going to say, all right, how well did you do in school? That's an important component. What are the other characteristics of you did you have some work career, other leadership opportunities? What are your passions? What are your interests? And they're trying to assess what's the probability of success for you in our organization. Do you work well with people? Do you communicate well? Are you responsive? Do you show energy and passion? Do you relate well with others? Do you bring good skill sets? So are you going to be able to take initiative? So demonstrating these types of things and showing a real interest in the work that that organization does, they want to know that you are going to be the best fit for their team. That doesn't mean you necessarily have the best grades. It's all of these things together that make the determination of whether we think that you're the best fit to come into our organization and you're going to have the longest term success with our organization. So I would say to you, making sure you're very informed of the organization you're joining. How well does that align with what you're trying to do? Showing the energy, building a connection with the persons that you're interviewing with, following up with nice notes and emails to say, hey, I really appreciate the interest, asking and interviewing the interviewer about the organization and what they can expect in the first couple of years. You should know who you'll be working most closely with, because people leave organizations because of the fit with their supervisor. So know the people that you're going to be working with, and do you fit well with them? So don't hesitate to ask those questions. This is all about a relationship, and that you should know those questions very well as you're starting out in your career, because this is your story and you need to take ownership of it at the end of the day. So I know that I'm already out of time, which is incredible because I had 3 pages of notes, but I will leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Darin. We do not have any questions in the chat yet, but if you have questions, we do have a couple minutes. Please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
No problem.
All right, we really appreciate your participation, Darin. Thank you so much for joining us today. We know your time's really valuable and we're very, very appreciative of your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. I'm here to welcome Dr. Christopher Sistrunk, an assistant professor in the Division of the Health Equities and the Division of the Biomarkers of Early Detection and Prevention within the Department of Population Sciences at the City of Hope. Dr. Sistrunk, please take it away.
Yes, I want to say thank you for inviting me, and I'm just going to jump right to it because I only have 10 minutes, which is fascinating to me. But so I really wanted to talk to you today in this leadership meeting about communication and the importance of communication. And so the one thing that's really ironic about me talking about communicating is that I am what they call a high functioning introvert. I have learned to speak publicly through my trials and through my matriculation to become a cancer researcher. And so the one thing I really wanted to stress to you guys is that whether you're coming to work the city at City of Hope or any other place, is some things you got to know about effective communication. And the first thing I can teach you about effective communication is to be an active listener. You want to be an active listener because some of the things that you're going to learn will come from you listening to people and listening to those around you. And so, um, as I was going through my career, I had an opportunity to learn firsthand how effective listening could actually benefit me in my career. And so, the first thing I can tell you is that to go into the research field, there was always this void about the level of mentorship and the level of community outreach that was not available for people within poor communities and things of that nature. And so when I started my postdoc, I ended up just going to the community and just doing an open house town hall meeting about what we needed. So to make a long story short, the one thing that we found out from this community is that they go get treated. They were all getting mammograms because I was doing breast cancer research, but then they all came back with cancers and they was wondering why. Believe it or not, I started that back in 20, I don't know how long ago it was, but it was in the 2000s, so I'm not too old. And what happened is I developed my research project based off of what the community was asking me for. I developed it on the idea of early detection and detection often, and it just so happened to spur the treatment regimens that are done at the FDA and how they look at cancers. And now I'm a part of a field that's associated with molecular pathology. And so the one thing I did was I listened to the community then and I listen to the community now. And the biggest thing the community is talking about is diversity in research. Like, why don't we have diverse populations in research and what are we doing about it? And so listening to that, I also was able to make a niche for myself with developing, underserved youth and getting them interested in doing science and research. And so when I talk about those, I just really want to hit on some of the things dealing with cancer biology and some of the things that I do as far as leadership and education. But the one thing is most certain is that I was able to talk to the community and talk to the community about what they saw the institution as, what they saw the institution to be in the future, and how the institution could benefit them. And so I just did a lot of listening. And from doing a lot of listening, you learn the language of the people you're trying to talk to. And that's the one thing that most of our colleagues in science don't do. We know our vernacular, we know our language, you know how to talk to other scientists, but we don't have the ability to talk to the common person. And guess what? These are the people that pay taxes. And so if you're getting grants and things like that, they literally paying for your livelihood. So if you think about it, it's in our best interest to be able to effectively communicate not only to our colleagues, but to effectively communicate to everybody that you run into. And so if you don't know it well enough to communicate with the guy that drives a bus or that changed the oil in your car, you don't know it. And so the last thing I will leave you with, because I do know that 10 minutes go by really, really fast, is that if you want to take a test on if you can communicate effectively or not, you ask yourself a couple of questions. And the first question is, can I effectively communicate who I am versus what I do? And then communicate to yourself, do I provide a benefit, or what kind of benefit can I provide for myself, the institution I'm working for or trying to work for, the community I live in, or the people that I love? So if you can effectively communicate those things, then you have a grasp on how to be an effective communicator. And also, the last thing I will leave you with is that if you're going to talk to any institution, whether it be for a job or for the job you have, understand this: leadership knows another language. If you cannot speak about what you're doing and how it's going to not only benefit what they have on the scope for now, but what it's going to do for the company 10 years or 15 years from now, you have just placed yourself as a cog in a machine, and that you're easily replaceable, because you want to articulate to someone that you're not working a job, you're working a career. And if you're able to do that, then you're going to last a long time in the career that you're in, because people get fired and laid off from jobs all the time. People only retire from careers. Your career goes on with the next institution. And so I think my 10 minutes, are my 10 minutes up? I don't know. But what else that I was supposed to cover? Yeah. Oh, during my education, I think I got 1 minute. So during my education, oh, that's the music. I'll stop. I'll stop right there in case they have some questions. I want to stop while I'm ahead.
Oh, you don't have to stop. Please go on. That was just a prompt to
Oh,
wrap up.
oh, okay,
Sorry.
okay. So the last thing I wanted to talk to you about was, throughout my education, I was always told that you just got to do research. Don't focus on anybody else. Just do your research, and the mentorship stuff will come later. And I went against the system. I always thought that it is selfish for me to get all the information and not give back. And by being that way, I've made myself very valuable to the institutions that I've worked at. And I've made myself valuable to individuals in DC at the NIH and NIHS and a lot of the acronyms in DC, because they know that since I started doing science and research, I was about mentorship. So even though I'm at the ripe old age of blah 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 blah, I've been doing mentorship and leadership training for more than 30 years. No, not 30 years, 25 years. So even though they're thinking about it as a new field and new sector that people are focusing on, I've been doing it for a long time. And so I was able to articulate what I wanted, when I wanted it, and I definitely wanted to make sure that I was filling a void that was needed. And I will wrap it up with that one.
Thank you so much. These are really, really great advice in terms of communication, and I think a lot of people can share the sentiment about being an introvert, how difficult it is to really take yourself out of comfort zone and to really present yourself. We do have a question for you. One of the students asked, is there such a thing as a professional tone in the workplace?
There is a professional tone in the workplace, but you said it. And so what that means by that is that, it's in your best interest to show up as your complete self as much as you can in the beginning, versus you all of a sudden, I'm gonna, just be me today. It's very important that throughout your matriculation through your education, that you understand, what your professional tone is. I'm from the South. I have a thick Southern dialect. And so at first they were like, oh, you got to speak with this proper diction and things like that. And then I started worried about how I was speaking and not being able to communicate what I was really trying to communicate. So there is a professional tone, and believe it or not, I've been trained in that professional tone for a long period of time, because I am a 6'4", 265, 67 pound Black man in science. And so I'm like the rainbow unicorn. And so some people are just intimidated just by who I am, based off of them not being able to be around people of color, and based off of, the stereotypes. And so I have to walk in and put people at ease, because I have such a big stature. I don't think I'm that big, because I know people who are 6'6", 6'7", 7 feet. So I'm like a little scrub to them. But there is professional tone, but you said it. Just make sure that you don't want to be somebody who insults people, regardless if you're trying to do it or not. Your impact is way more heavier than your intentions. And so just keep that in mind, and always think about, be on the line of edification. Even when you're going to tear somebody down, you're going to tear them down because they're doing a terrible job. Edification. You got to talk about what they're doing well. And you also got to keep a tone that is definitely professional. Is that it?
Sorry, my cursor hates me. I'm trying to unmute myself for the past like 10 seconds. So we do have another question.
Okay.
If we are unable to get an internship, how would you go about finding mentorships?
Oh, that's a great question. So here's the thing about it. If you are looking for mentorship, say you're looking for mentorship. Don't say, I want an internship hoping I'm going to get mentored, because the person who hires you for an intern may be looking for a set of hands. So say what you need. And I can assure you, if you reach out to someone, especially at my institution, and say, listen, I'm just looking for a mentor, I'm looking for somebody to help make this rocky road a little smoother, you will get mentorship for free. You know, I mentor people, some people I've never even met because I've met their parents on a plane or something. And I end up mentoring them. And I actually pride myself on being a mentor because I feel like I didn't have one. And, you know, not that I didn't have one, I didn't have one early enough. And then I didn't have people who were deliberate about mentorship. I mean, I am so deliberate about mentorship. I've been trained as an executive and career coach. I paid for it. Well, City Hope paid for it, but you know, at the Hudson Institute up in Santa Barbara, very expensive and lasts a long time. But I did that so I can be a better mentor, because I feel like we as scientists, as long as we can do good science, they assume we can be good mentors, and we all know that's not the case. And so just ask somebody, just let them know that I'm looking for a mentor. Do you have time? Do you have time to, you know, to show me somebody who can mentor me? Because some people are super busy, but they have people in their lab who love to mentor. So either way, you just ask people for what you really want. Don't look for an internship assuming you're going to get a mentor, because you may not.
That was really helpful. Thank you so much, Dr. Sistrunk, for joining us today. We're very, very happy to have you. And that was some really, really valuable advice that our students are taking away. We really appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry I had to jump off, but if they need to get in contact with me, please reach out to City of Hope. And if you want to be able to get in contact with me, it's very, very easy. And I'll be more than happy to help. I do have partnerships at UCR right now, so it's not hard at all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, everybody. With that, we will be transitioning to our final lightning talk speaker, Maro Ibarra, who is a senior manager and strategy and consultant at Accenture. And he will be talking to us about professionalism and effective communication.
Right. Let me know if you guys can hear me, Abby.
Yes.
All right. So thank you for the opportunity to be here with you all. My name is Maro Ibarra. I graduated from UC Riverside in 2007 from the Bourne College of Engineering, School Bourne College of Engineering. So super excited to be here with a lot of you, and happy to share the message around professionalism and effective communication in the workplace. Although I feel like Dr. Sistrunk really covered effective communication very well, so I might focus a little bit more on the professionalism aspect of it. I have a slide that I want to walk you guys through, and as a consultant, I would have a slide. So I'm going to share my screen, but then I'll kind of come back to the presentation. And let me see, how do I do that? Abby, you'll have to tell me if you're able to see my screen.
I am.
Okay. All right, so let's dive into it. I know I don't have much time, but you know, as I was thinking about this concept of professionalism in the workplace, and you know, just in general, and how that ties to effective communication, I think there's a framework here that you can look at. I reference these from a website, but there's kind of 8 components to professionalism in the workplace, and so the one that I would call out is dress to impress. You never know who's going to be in the room with you. You never know who you're going to run into, and I provide services for C-level executives at all my client sites, and so I never know if I'm going to run into someone at lunch. I don't know if there's another executive that stays at the same hotel that I stay at, so it's really important to just dress to impress, but also know your environment. I've worked on accounts where the environment is very, very relaxed. And so, the client might want you to look like them. And so the dress code definitely feels a little bit more relaxed than other places. So I think as long as you're aware of your environment, and you dress appropriately, that just makes, the first impression a lot easier, because we don't get, a lot of time to really impress people. As you look at your career, and most of you will start your careers early on, right after school. It's going to be really important that you're constantly curious and you're documenting things that are important. You're capturing messages that are being delivered by leadership or your supervisor. So writing things down, and not asking the same question twice really goes a long way. I think that ties very directly to being proactive and taking initiative. So, write things down. It's kind of the thing to do. I've noticed, a couple of the younger folks on my teams, they'll write things down on OneNote, but via their phone. So sometimes I'm talking to them and it feels like they're texting, but they're actually documenting in OneNote. So do what works for you, communicate what you're doing, but write things down. I think that's critical. Watch what you say. I think it's important that, effective communication is really, taken into account. Being an active listener allows you to really digest the message that's being relayed, and it also allows you to think about, what should be the response to that message. But if you're not an active listener, you're not going to deliver the right message. Also, from a personal and, kind of workplace etiquette perspective, watch what you say means to be polite. So, number 7 there is a little bit of that. But I think your tone, the professional tone, how you carry yourself, I think says a lot about you and your character. So watch what you say. Definitely, will tie into your character and how people perceive you, right? Sometimes perception is reality. So try to focus on your messaging there. Another aspect of professionalism: proofread your emails. I've written emails to my client, to internal leadership, to my friends, and there's always going to be a misspelling error, some grammar. If you want people to take you serious, then emails are just as important as verbal communication. So proofread your emails so that it's clear, concise, not too verbose, and you're delivering the right message. That's key, especially in a workplace where you're constantly communicating via email. Number 5, come up with solutions. I think that often the time is we get complacent. We just kind of go with the flow, and that shows lack of interest, lack of commitment. So coming up with solutions shows that you're interested. You're constantly learning, and that'll show a different. It'll tie to your character of being a go-getter, proactive kind of person. And the supervisors really like when people step up and say, hey, this hasn't been working for a long time. I thought about implementing this other solution or process. What do you think? And you'll be surprised how often you'll impress just by coming up with a different way of process. Be punctual, right? That goes without saying. Don't show up late to meetings. My clients would probably fire me if I showed up late to a meeting that I scheduled and I forced them to be on time too. So be punctual is just key. Be polite, as I mentioned. You never know who you're going to run into again. Whether you're driving, I've seen this happen before. You're driving, you honk at somebody, and next thing you know, you both arrive at the same place, and it's your VP of the company, and you both get out of the car, look at each other, and you kind of give each other that nod. So be polite. You never know when that's going to come back to you, and take initiative. I think being a proactive person and taking initiative to solve your problems, other people's problems, help troubleshoot things that require attention, I think goes a long way. And leaders, they inspire others. And so if you can inspire others with your actions, I think that it'll definitely help you from a professional perspective. So Abby, I try to go through that very quickly because I did want to come back to the camera and
Yes.
and then just talk about how this ties to effective communication. Dr. Sistrunk talked about he said something like who I am versus what I do. I'm a big believer that people don't buy what you do. People buy why you do it. And I think that if you're carrying yourself very professionally, if you communicate effectively, and you project this passion that, I'm in this role today and I aspire to be this role, tomorrow, but I'm not doing it because of the money, as Darin mentioned, or I'm not doing it because of the position. I'm doing it because I'm passionate, and that's why I do what I do, right? And so I'm a big believer in inclusion and diversity programs. I'm a big champion in that space for I&D programs, and so I do that very wholeheartedly, and it's also part of my personal brand, right? So in the office, how I carry myself, I also have to carry that badge of honor, which is part of my professional, image. So I'm not sure if I have time left and if there's any time for questions, but I would love to entertain some questions if there are.
Yeah, that was really wonderful, Mauro. Thank you so much for that. We do have a couple questions. I'm going to just combine them because they're both kind of related to your career.
Okay.
So what was your major in undergrad, and how did that help you get your position at Accenture? And was it hard transitioning from a technical role as an engineering student to a consulting role?
Yeah, it's a good question. So electrical engineering, undergrad major with an emphasis in nanotechnology. Back then it was still, relatively early technology. So I did a lot of, the general electrical engineering type courses. I actually started my career at Southern California Edison as a engineer. And so my role was still very technical in nature. But as I progressed in my career at Edison, I spent a little bit over 6 years there. I got the opportunity to work with consulting companies like Accenture, IBM, Deloitte, et cetera. And so I found that I really enjoyed that fast-paced environment. I really enjoyed being in front of people. But as again, Dr. Sistrunk mentioned it, right? Like, I'm a high functioning introvert myself. Like, I'm happy to be by myself. I'm happy to read a book and have lunch by myself. That's not going to bother me. But then I have to turn on the switch and I have to be in front of a client or in a conference call. So I think I had to first develop those skills and the confidence that was required to be able to bring out that Maro 2.0, because I don't think that I could have been in consulting if I didn't grow out of that shell. And so I pushed myself to be more personable, public speaking, being part of Toastmasters, things like that really could bring out my personality a little bit better. And then once I felt comfortable with myself in that kind of environment, then consulting is such a social environment, right? There's so much of the soft skills as well as the technical skills. I felt like I had both. Then I was able to pursue an opportunity outside of Southern California Edison.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here today, Mauro. Some really great advice, insights, and thank you for sharing your story too. So we really, really appreciate your time and your participation.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I know we're a little bit behind, but we will be having everybody jump into our next part is our lunch and learn with our event sponsor. So there are breakout rooms that you can all click and join in. So just really quick note, some of the questions that if you've asked and not being answered, we will put it in the we will be having our employee panel, which starts right after lunch and learn. You will get that answered. Abby, did I forget anything?
Yeah, just to mention, if you're not familiar with Whova as much and you're kind of using it for the first time, so on your agenda tab, if you scroll down underneath speakers, you should be able to see subsessions. So you should be able to see Amazon breakout room, City of Hope breakout room, Keck Graduate Institute breakout room, Salas O'Brien breakout room, and South Coast AQMD breakout room. So all of our breakout room representatives will be in there, and students, please feel free to join the room that you'd like, and we will come back to the main room, which is the original agenda link at 12:35.
Right, and also the session's being recorded and it will be uploaded later.
Thank you, everybody. And for those of you who are not participating in this part of the event, feel free to take a break and come back for the employer panel at 12:35.
Hi, Abby. This is Gavin with Salas O'Brien. I just quickly tried to go into our session. It looks like you guys need to start the breakout rooms from your end. It said unable to join.
Okay, we will right away.
Thank you.
Jess, I think mine is okay because I've disabled the breakout room. Sorry, but disabled waiting room. So, but I'm just gonna go.
I think it's because you're in this room. All right, I'll have a good time in your breakout room.